There is a 7-year-old golden retriever named Biscuit who runs in his sleep every single night. Not a little twitch, a full sprint. His paws push hard against the hardwood floor, his lips pull back, and somewhere deep in his chest, a small, muffled bark escapes. His owner is a teacher named Marcus. Marcus grades papers until midnight, then falls asleep on the couch, and he always wakes up just long enough to pull a blanket over himself before drifting off again. He has never once stopped to wonder where Biscuit goes when his eyes close. Tonight, that changes. Here is something most people never think to ask. When your dog is running in their sleep, where are they running to? You probably assumed the same thing almost everyone does. Squirrels, maybe. Rabbits. Some ancient memory of a wide-open field. It is a beautiful image. It is also completely wrong. And the truth, the actual scientific truth of what your dog is chasing in the dark, is something that will stay with you for a long time after this video ends. To understand it, we have to start with how your dog actually sleeps. Not in the way we casually imagine, curled up and peaceful for 8 hours. Dogs sleep on an entirely different rhythm than we do. Where a human takes about 90 minutes to move through one complete sleep cycle, a dog moves through theirs in 45. That is fast, startlingly fast, and inside that compressed window, the dog's brain cycles through deep rest and active dreaming not once, but twice. About 10 to 20 minutes after a dog closes its eyes, something remarkable begins. The body quiets. Breathing slows. Heart rate drops. This is the part of sleep where the body repairs itself, restoring what the day used up. And then, without warning, the brain does something that looks almost violent on a monitor. The electrical activity spikes. The brain begins firing at the same rate as a fully awake, fully alert animal. This is the dream state. This is where Biscuit goes. Think about what that means. In less than the time it takes to watch a single episode of something you've already seen before, your dog's brain has already plunged into the deepest, most emotionally active place the nervous system can reach. And because wild dogs needed to stay alert, always ready to wake and react, they never learned to sleep in long, unbroken stretches. So they do this over and over, all day. Often sleeping 12, 13, sometimes 14 hours just to accumulate enough of the deep, dream-rich rest their brains require. Marcus learned this on a Tuesday, sitting with cold coffee and a stack of unread quizzes. He looked up from his work and watched Biscuit's back legs begin their slow, rhythmic push against the floor. He had seen it 1,000 times. He had never once wondered what it meant. But what happens inside your dog's brain when that dreaming begins, when the paws start moving and the small sounds escape? That is where this story becomes something you were not expecting to feel today. You might think the most interesting question about your dog's dreams is what they are dreaming about. But scientists asked a different question first. They asked, why doesn't the dog just get up and run? Because by every measure of brain activity, they should. The motor cortex, the part of the brain that sends movement signals to the muscles, is firing just as hard during a dream as it does during a real sprint through the park. The commands are real. The urgency is real. So why does Biscuit stay on the floor? The answer lives in a small, ancient structure buried deep in the brainstem. It is called the pons. And what it does, every single night, for every mammal on Earth, is nothing short of extraordinary. The moment your dog crosses into the dream state, the pons releases a cascade of powerful chemical signals that travel down the spinal cord and essentially switch off the large muscles of the body. The legs that want to run cannot run. The jaw that wants to bark can barely whisper. The body is held perfectly, protectively still, while the mind goes anywhere it needs to go. Scientists call this muscle stillness, REM atonia. You can think of it as a biological safety latch. Without it, your dog would sprint into walls, bite at invisible things, and exhaust themselves completely, all while technically asleep. The pons holds the body in place so the brain can do its deepest work undisturbed. But here is where it gets tender. The pons is not equally strong across an entire lifetime. In puppies, those tiny creatures who seem to twitch and squeak and paddle from the moment they fall asleep, the pons has not fully developed yet. The chemical signals are there, but the circuitry is incomplete, so the dream leaks out. The body physically acts out what the mind is experiencing in small, jerking fragments. That frantic puppy paddling you find so unbearably endearing is a window left open, a dream spilling through a wall that has not yet been finished. Biscuit did this when Marcus first brought him home. He was 8 weeks old and weighed 4 pounds, and he slept in a laundry basket lined with an old sweatshirt. Marcus watched him for almost an hour that first night, afraid to look away, the way you are with anything new and fragile and entirely yours. The tiny legs moved, the tiny sounds came. Marcus did not know then that he was watching a mind being built in real time. And then, on the other end of life, the pons begins to slow. In older dogs, the same mechanism that once held the dream tightly inside starts to weaken. Senior dogs often begin to move more in their sleep again, just as they did as puppies. More sounds, more motion, more of the dream pushing through. If you have an older dog and you have noticed this, what you are watching is not a problem. It is the arc of a life, completing its curve. Researchers confirmed all of this in a way that is hard to forget. By temporarily disabling the pontine mechanism in sleeping dogs under controlled laboratory conditions, scientists were able to watch animals physically enact their dreams while remaining completely unconscious. What they saw was not random flailing. A pointer stood up and pointed at something only it could see. A Labrador moved through the exact motions of chasing a ball. The behavior was specific, coordinated, and unmistakably personal. The dream was not chaos. It was memory. Which brings us to the question we have been circling this entire time. If the dream is made of memory, if it is built from the specific, particular life your dog actually lives, then what exactly is in there? Whose face is the brain reconstructing in the dark? What name is echoing through a mind that cannot speak it aloud? That is the question Harvard researchers decided to answer, and what they found changed everything. Your dog has been dreaming about you. Not occasionally, not sometimes. Every single night, in the deepest part of sleep, the brain of your dog is rebuilding you from memory, piece by piece, and living inside that reconstruction as if it were real. This is not poetic speculation. It is the conclusion of serious scientific inquiry rooted in something called the continuity hypothesis of dreaming. A clinical psychologist at Harvard Medical School named Dr. Deirdre Barrett spent years studying what mammals dream about and arrived at a finding that is almost too simple to believe. Dreams are not random. They are not symbolic. They are a direct continuation of whatever the dreamer cares about most when they are awake. The brain uses sleep to process, file, and emotionally organize the events and attachments of the day, and it does this using the same raw material it had access to when the eyes were open. For humans, this means we dream about the people we love, the problems we cannot solve, the conversations we keep replaying. The content shifts and bends, but the emotional core stays true. Dr. Barrett concluded there is no biological reason to believe animals dream any differently. Dreams are built from the substance of waking life. Full stop. Now consider what the waking life of a domestic dog actually contains. A cat, researchers note, still carries a strong independent drive. Cats dream, and the evidence suggests they dream about hunting, about stalking, about the solitary pursuit that defined their ancestors. But a dog is something else entirely. A dog is a creature that has spent tens of thousands of years in a process of profound mutual evolution with one specific species, with us. The domestic dog did not just learn to live near humans. It rewired itself at the neurological level to need us, to center us, to organize its entire emotional world around our presence, our moods, our routines, and our smell. Think about what Biscuit's day actually looks like. He wakes when Marcus wakes. He follows Marcus from room to room, not because he wants something, but because the room Marcus is in is simply where Biscuit wants to be. When Marcus leaves, Biscuit waits, not passively. He waits the way you wait for news you are not sure will be good. And when the door opens, the response is not proportional. It is total. Every part of Biscuit's body responds as if something essential has been restored. This is the waking life the dreaming brain draws from. This is the raw material. So when the pons locks the body still and the brain begins its nightly reconstruction, what it reaches for is what it knows best: your face. Your voice in the specific register it uses when it is talking only to them. The particular sound your shoes make on the floor before you sit down beside them. These are not small things to a dog. These are the architecture of their entire world. Dr. Barrett stated it plainly. Dogs are so deeply attached to their human owners that they almost certainly dream of your face, your smell, and the daily acts of being with you. When that Labrador in the lab moved through the motions of chasing a ball, it was not dreaming of the ball. It was dreaming of the person who threw it. There is a woman in her 70s who lives 3 blocks from a park. Every morning, for 11 years, she walked her dog Winston to that park at 7:15. Winston died 2 years ago. She still walks to the park at 7:15. She said once that she does it because her body does not know how to do the morning any other way. Winston's body did not know how to do the morning any other way either. That is not training. That is love in its most biological form, written so deeply into the nervous system that it survives even absence. And this is where it gets quietly astonishing. Because the way a dog loves you does not only shape their waking behavior, it reaches into the unconscious. It follows them into the dark. The most primitive, unguarded part of their mind, the part that has no reason to perform or please or try, still chooses you, still builds you, still runs toward you. When Biscuit's legs move against the floor tonight, and Marcus looks up from whatever he is doing, he will see what he has always seen: a dog dreaming. But now he knows what the dream is made of, and what happens when the dreaming brain encounters something that frightens it, when the dream turns dark and the sounds change from soft to desperate. That is where what you do next matters more than you might realize. Most people, when they see their dog whimpering in their sleep, do the most human thing possible. They reach out and touch them. They say the dog's name. They give a gentle shake, because they cannot bear to watch something they love be afraid, even in a dream. It comes from the right place. It comes entirely from love. And it is, unfortunately, one of the most disorienting things you can do to a sleeping dog. Here is why. When the pons is actively holding the body in that state of deep stillness, the brain is completely submerged. It is not hovering near the surface, ready to rise. It is down in the deepest water. And when a physical touch breaks through suddenly, the brain does not wake up gently. It aborts. It cuts the dream state off mid-current, disengages the chemical hold on the muscles, and floods the motor system with waking signals all at once. The dog does not surface. It is yanked up. In that first, disoriented second, the brain does not know where it is. It does not know that the hand touching it belongs to someone safe. It only knows that something grabbed it while it was afraid. And the response that follows bypasses thought entirely. It is faster than recognition, faster than love. Dogs with no history of aggression, dogs who have never once shown a threatening behavior in their waking lives, have bitten their owners in this moment. Not out of anger, out of a nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do. This is where the science becomes something almost beautiful. Because the answer to how you help a dog through a nightmare does not require waking them at all. It requires understanding what their brain never stops doing, even in the deepest sleep. The nose does not rest. While the visual cortex closes its doors when the eyes close, while the ears become less responsive to the outside world, the olfactory system keeps working. Every breath a sleeping dog takes pulls the air of the room across 300 million scent receptors. The brain is still reading that air, still processing it, still assigning emotional meaning to every molecule that passes through. And here is what a 2022 study from Cornell University revealed about how that information travels. Researchers used advanced brain imaging to map the neural pathways connecting a dog's nose to the rest of its brain. What they found was unprecedented. There are massive, high-speed information highways running directly from the olfactory system to the visual cortex, to the memory centers, and, most critically, straight into the part of the brain that processes emotion. These are not small pathways. The researchers described them as dramatic in scale, comparable in size to the great visual tracts in the human brain. What this means is that when a dog smells something, the signal does not take a scenic route. It does not stop for analysis. It blasts directly into the emotional core of the brain and lands there before any conscious thought can form. This is why your dog's whole body changes the instant they smell you walking toward them before they can even see you. The emotion arrives first. Joy, safety, relief. All of it triggered by chemistry before a single visual confirmation. Now bring that understanding into the nightmare. Biscuit is asleep on the floor near Marcus's desk. His breathing has gone shallow. His legs are moving differently now. Not the loose, easy paddle of a good dream, but something tighter, more urgent. A small, high sound comes from his chest. He is somewhere Marcus cannot follow. Somewhere dark. Marcus does not shake him. He does not say his name. He does the one thing that can reach inside the dream without breaking it. He holds his hand close to Biscuit's nose. Not touching, just near. Close enough that the next breath Biscuit takes carries something familiar. The research on human dreaming shows that scents introduced during sleep alter the emotional content of the dream itself. Positive scents shift dreams toward safety and warmth. Given that a dog's olfactory system is wired on a scale that dwarfs our own, and given that the owner's scent is the single most emotionally loaded chemical signal in a dog's entire sensory universe, what happens next is not a surprise. It is almost a certainty. The breathing slows. The legs go still. The small sound from the chest fades. Biscuit does not wake. He simply moves, somewhere inside the dream, from fear toward something else. Toward familiar. Toward safe. You reached into his nightmare without touching him. You changed the story he was living in. You did it with nothing more than your presence and your smell, both of which his brain has spent years learning to associate with the feeling of being home. The next time your dog is whimpering in the dark, try this. Sit near them. Extend your hand close to their nose without making contact. Breathe slowly. Let the air carry you to them. Give it a minute. You may not see it happen immediately, but watch the breathing. Watch the legs. Watch for the moment the body remembers that you are there. That is not a trick. That is a conversation. one that happens entirely without words, in the language your dog has been fluent in since the day they first learned what you smell like. And now that you understand what the dreaming mind is made of, and how deeply it is shaped by everything your dog feels when they are awake, there is one more piece. One that changes how you understand not just their sleep, but every ordinary moment that happens between the dreams. Every morning, before Marcus's alarm goes off, Biscuit is already awake. He does not bark, he does not pace, he simply moves from wherever he slept and positions himself near the couch, close enough to hear the change in Marcus's breathing that means sleep is ending. He has done this for 7 years. He has never been taught to do it. He just knows. This is the part of the story that science has only recently caught up to. Because what Biscuit is doing in those quiet minutes before the day begins is not waiting. It is monitoring. It is care, expressed in the only language available to him. And the biological system that makes it possible is so extraordinary, so disproportionate to anything we have in our own heads, that understanding it changes the way ordinary moments feel. A human nose carries somewhere between 5 and 6 million scent receptors. That number probably sounds large until you learn that a dog carries 300 million. And the portion of the canine brain dedicated solely to interpreting smell is proportionally about 40 times larger than the equivalent region in a human brain. 40 times. That is not a modest upgrade. That is a different way of experiencing reality altogether. But the raw numbers are almost beside the point. What matters more is what the Cornell University researchers discovered about where that scent information goes once the nose collects it. Because in the human brain, smell is processed and then distributed. It travels to various regions and gets interpreted over time. In the dog, something different happens entirely. The pathways from the nose to the brain are massive and direct, wired in ways never documented in any other species. There is a tract running straight from the olfactory system to the visual cortex, meaning smell and sight are functionally integrated. A dog does not just smell the world, it sees it in scent. There is a tract running straight to the memory centers, meaning a single smell can reconstruct an entire experience in an instant, fully formed, the way a song can take a person back to a specific afternoon from 20 years ago, except faster and more complete. And there is a tract, perhaps the most important one, running directly from the nose to the emotional processing centers of the brain. No detour, no delay. The smell arrives and the feeling follows immediately, as one inseparable event. This is why your scent does not just register to your dog as information, it registers as feeling. The moment they catch it, before they see you, before they hear you, the emotional response has already begun. Safety, warmth, the particular relief of a specific and irreplaceable presence. There is a woman who traveled for work often, sometimes 2 weeks at a time. Her dog, a quiet, serious shepherd mix named Arlo, would sleep on her side of the bed while she was gone. Not on the whole bed, her side, her pillow. When she came home, Arlo would press his nose into her neck and stay there, absolutely still, for almost a full minute before doing anything else. She thought it was sweet. She did not know he was essentially downloading her, reading the chemical record of where she had been, what she had felt, whether she was well. All of it, legible to him in the space of a single breath. This is the creature sleeping on your floor tonight. This is the animal who runs in their dream toward your face. What Biscuit knows about Marcus, built across 7 years of daily proximity, is immeasurably complex. He knows the difference between the sound of Marcus leaving for work and the sound of Marcus leaving for the store. He knows what stress smells like on Marcus's skin, and he responds to it before Marcus has consciously acknowledged feeling it. He knows the specific weight of a bad day. He knows when something is wrong. He knows, in a way that bypasses language and reasoning and all the complicated architecture of human self-awareness, exactly who Marcus is. And every night, when the lights go out and the pond does its quiet work and the dream begins to build, the brain of this animal reaches for what it knows best and reconstructs it in the dark, runs toward it, calls out for it in small sounds Marcus can barely hear from across the room. You are not just the person your dog loves. You are the world your dog lives in. You are the landscape their mind returns to when all pretense is stripped away and the brain is left alone with only what matters most. Which means the ordinary moments are not ordinary at all. The hand resting on their back while you watch something you will not remember tomorrow. The automatic reach down when they press their head against your leg. The glance across a quiet room where nothing is happening and everything is fine. These are the moments being filed. These are the frames being saved. These are the images that will play tonight in the theater of a mind that chose you so completely it carries you even into sleep. Now Biscuit is curled near Marcus's feet. His legs are still. His breathing is slow and even. Somewhere behind those closed eyes, in a brain that science has now mapped and studied and marveled at, something is being built from memory and love and the specific chemical signature of a man who grades papers until midnight and falls asleep on the couch. The dream is already beginning, and it begins with you. There is a line that tends to appear somewhere in every conversation about dogs and time, and it is this: we get maybe 12 years. Sometimes more, sometimes heartbreakingly less, but roughly that. 12 years to be someone's entire world. 12 years during which your dog will watch you change and grow and struggle and rest, while their own arc moves faster, their seasons turning quicker than yours, their muzzle going gray while you are still figuring things out. Biscuit is 7 now. Marcus does not think about this often. Most of us do not, because thinking about it requires sitting with something that has no comfortable resolution. But the science that brought us here tonight, the sleep cycles and the dreaming brains, and the vast olfactory highways running straight to the heart, all of it points toward the same quiet truth. This animal, this specific and irreplaceable animal, has built their life around yours, has organized every waking hour in relationship to your presence, has carried you, without choice or compromise, into every dream. And they are here, right now, tonight, on your floor or your couch, or pressed against your leg in the particular way they have always pressed against your leg. Before this video ends, before you move on to whatever is next, do one thing. Go to your dog. Sit down near them, close enough that they can smell you without moving. Place your hand gently on their side and feel the rhythm of their breathing. Do not say anything. You do not need to. Just let your presence be something they can sense. Let the scent of you reach them and do what it has always done, quietly, automatically, in language older than any word either of you will ever know. Tell them, in the only way that goes all the way down, that you are here. That is not a small thing. That is the whole thing. If your dog has ever done something in their sleep that made you laugh or made your heart catch, we would love to hear it in the comments. Every one of those stories is proof of exactly what we talked about tonight, that the love between a person and their dog is so deep, it follows them even into dreams. If this video reached something in you, share it with someone who has a dog sleeping near them right now. They need to see this. And if you want to be part of a community that sees dogs the way dogs deserve to be seen, with curiosity and reverence and genuine wonder, subscribe to The Soulful Dog. We are just getting started. Next time, We're going to talk about something your dog does every single day that you have almost certainly misread your entire life. And once you understand what it actually means, you will never see it the same way again.